So Donald Trump tweaked his original tax plan because it added about $11 trillion to the debt over 10 years. Well, his new plan is a dumpster fire also. Now, I'm going to get to that in a second, but let me just explain for his first tax plan how silly of a human being he is. Because he would go around arguing, we're going to balance the budget, that's what we're going to do, there's going to be no more debt, tremendous, believe me, let me just tell you. So he would go around saying that, and then economists would crunch the numbers and they go, dude, what are you talking about? If you implemented your plan to a T, you would get $11 trillion more in debt over 10 years. Over $1 trillion more per year. So he's, I'm going to balance the budget. Okay, no, but your numbers show you're going to increase the debt by astonishing numbers. But what do they always say? Their response is goofy as always, is what the Republicans do. They go, oh, no. See, you economists with your numbers and facts don't understand. If we do my plan, we will unleash the beast of the free market, and there will be so many jobs created everywhere and so much wealth and prosperity that even though we lower the tax rate, people make so much more money that with the lower tax rate, they're paying more money to the government, and the government gets more revenue. Boom, we eliminate the debt. They make it up. By the way, this is why George H.W. Bush daddy version, called, this plan by Republicans, and he is a Republican, but he said, look, that idea, it's voodoo economics. Because it doesn't work, it's fucking voodoo. We're going to cut taxes, and that's somehow going to balance the budget. No, if you cut taxes, you are, by definition, cutting the amount of money going into the government. So you're going to increase the debt and the deficit. George H.W. Bush realized that. He's like, that's voodoo. That's not going to work. What are you, crazy? That's not how fucking math works, you idiots. Even H.W. recognized that. Trump, no. He drank the voodoo economics Kool-Aid, which is also called trickle-down economics or Reaganomics. Okay. So with that being said, Zach Carter breaks this down for us. This is Trump's new tax plan. Quote, the tax plan Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump unveiled last month would cost $7.2 trillion over the next decade, according to an analysis from a nonpartisan think tank, with most of the benefits flowing to the wealthy. Trump's tax plan would eliminate the tax on multi-million-dollar inheritances, cap all business taxes at 15%, and reduce income taxes across the board. But the Tax Policy Center found the plan to be heavily weighted in favor of the super rich. The top 1% of households would receive an average tax cut of $214,690 in just the first year of the plan's implementation, while the top 0.1% would save a whopping $1.1 million. Middle-income households would receive a tax cut of just $1,010, while the lowest income taxpayers would get just $110. Okay, so let me put this in perspective for you guys. They're saying, okay, not only does this mostly favor the rich, it mostly favors the super rich. And when you compare it to the epic, disastrous, infamous George W. Bush tax cuts, it's way worse than that. So for George W. Bush, the tax cuts cost about $2.8 trillion over the first decade. Again, with Trump, it is now, after reducing it from $11 trillion, it's now $7.2 trillion. This guy is the biggest faux populist ever. Now, don't get me wrong, his rhetoric on TPP and trade is actually decent. But let me be clear, I don't believe him. He outsources his own jobs to Turkey and China and Mexico. Oh, we got to be jobs in America. That's what we need. That's what we're going to do. This is what Trump is all about. Then why do you outsource your own jobs? You could bring them back. You're not forced to do that. You chose to do that. And I'm supposed to believe you're going to make every business in the country bring the jobs back? I don't believe that. And furthermore, if you renegotiate the deals, I don't believe you do it in a way that wouldn't cause a trade war. I think you would cause a trade war because you're not that bright. So that's the extent of his economic populism. I think it's a ruse. Now this, he's not even pretending it for this one. For this one, he's like, yeah, no, my plan is the Bush tax cuts for the rich on steroids. That's my plan. That's the goal. You go through his numbers. You go, oh, he doesn't want any estate tax. The estate tax, for those of you who don't know, it is a tax on mega rich dead people. There's not a better group in society to tax than mega rich dead people. And to be clear, it only affects like 0.1% of the population. And it's not like the kids don't get anything. You're still going to have your Paris Hiltons who are massively rich and get the money passed off to them. So that's like the least liberal and progressive thing you could do is get rid of the estate tax. He's like, let's get rid of the estate tax. He says, reduce the taxes on the rich the most. And comically say, again, I'm going to balance the budget, as you just added $7.2 trillion to the debt. So they're so silly. They're so silly. Like, they don't get math. They don't get economics. They don't care, man. They just don't care. And these are the same people who, as he's going to add $7.2 trillion to the debt, he gets mad at Obama for reducing the annual deficit. They like to cite this statistic. Well, yeah, but the national debt has gone up a lot under Obama. Yeah. He inherited a $1.4 trillion annual deficit. So he inherited that, and what did he do with it? He immediately started cutting it. So he was handed the Great Recession and massive annual deficits. He turned that into not the Great Recession anymore, and now the debt is about $500 billion when he inherited $1.4 trillion. So yes, you are cumulatively adding to the national debt, but that is massively misleading because he is, on a year-by-year basis, he has improved it every single year. So they're super misleading about Obama's record on this. And then they say, we're going to balance the budget, which doesn't just get rid of the annual deficit. He means get rid of the national debt, which isn't even possible if you talk to economists. That's not a thing you could do in such a short period of time. They do that, and they add $7.2 trillion over 10 years. And they act like they're going to be better and it's going to balance the budget and they're going to help the middle class and the poor the most when they help them the least. By the way, his old tax plan increased taxes on the middle class and the poor. Now, the new tax plan, he's like, okay, I'll give you a little bit. To poor people, here's $100. But rich people take over $1 million. Guys, they're fucking tricking you. Reaganomics is nothing but a giant trick. What they're doing is handing all the money in society to the rich and screwing over poor and middle class people more. This isn't populist. This isn't liberal. This isn't progressive. This is George W. Bush tax cuts for the rich on steroids, and Donald Trump is proposing it.